Tonight, the West Coast and White Bay paid tribute to not one, but two residents to honor their legacies for generations to come. Those stories and pandemic restrictions kept her from attending her mother's funeral, but a Nova Scotia woman isn't letting her case go without a fight.
When we float this out next month onto the Grand Banks and begin the project offshore, that's just a tremendous day for this company, a tremendous day for Newfoundland, a tremendous day for Canada.
Well, today, Argentia marks a West White Rose milestone, what it means for first oil timelines.
I'm Colleen Connors in Corner Brook, and check out where I am. The new pool is ready to open.
Absolutely incredible. It's like, this is something that's so fitting for Marina.
I have an opening date for it, and this brand new facility has a beautiful new name, named after a well-known city clerk. I'll have all the details. That's ahead.
This is CBC Here and Now.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. We begin with news from the courts. Newfoundland and Labrador's COVID-19 pandemic travel restrictions are under the microscope this week at a case before the Supreme Court of Canada. It all began in 2020 after Kimberly Taylor of Nova Scotia couldn't attend her mother's funeral here on the island. Now, Taylor was denied an exemption to a public health order that banned all non-residents from entering Newfoundland and Labrador. The province's Supreme Court ruled the order violated her constitutional right to travel anywhere in Canada, but also said the circumstances of the pandemic justified that charter infringement. Now, Taylor has appealed that decision, and the case will now be tried in the Supreme Court of Canada, with proceedings scheduled to resume tomorrow. Well, the Premier has been ducking question period during the session of the House of Assembly. Before yesterday, Andrew Furey had only attended QP 2 times this sitting. Now, the Premier tells CBC Radio's Patrick Butler that at this point, he's in more of a caretaker role, and he's been very busy.
I'm still there. I've been there in the past, and we'll be there today and tomorrow, and then there'll be a new Premier.
We counted how many questions you responded to, 7. We actually counted the amount of words you said in the House this session, about 800. It's about the same amount of words you said to Wolf Blitzer on CNN. Should people expect more from their Premier?
Now, look, I'm working hard every day, and there is a transition period after I resign, and so I'm in a slightly caretaker mode for, putting forward a budget that was necessary, but I would say not aggressive. And as I said, I'll be in question period today, and I'm always here to answer your questions in particular, Patrick.
Well, that was the Premier there at an event in Argentia to celebrate the completion of the West White Rose extension. As Abby Cole reports, leaders are hopeful this next phase will prolong the life of the oil field by more than a decade.
Today, the long-awaited White Rose Extension project is finally completed. Right here on the Argentia graving dock, the Cenovus CEO and the Premier celebrated the completion of the concrete gravity structure.
This structure that you see behind me is more than 200,000 tons of steel and concrete. It's enormous by any scale, by any measure. And when we float this out next month onto the Grand Banks and begin the project offshore, that's just a tremendous day for this company.
This massive structure can float and will be towed to the White Rose oil field next month. Then the top side will be brought over from Texas, and it will all be assembled in July.
And we're going to start drilling in the fall of 2025 and get to first oil in about the second quarter of 2026. So still lots of work to do.
It was a bumpy road to get here. The project was stalled for a time during the pandemic. Then there was a change in ownership when Cenovus took over Husky Energy in 2020.
Taking over as Premier during the pandemic, the oil and gas industry was under significant pressure and threat. Its very existence was under threat. There was some question about whether this project would even go ahead.
But the province spent over $41 million to keep it going.
Newfoundland and Labrador has what the world needs right now in our oil and gas product. It's not landlocked, no need for pipelines across multiple provinces. Ours can go straight to market.
The Premier says this project will create 250 permanent jobs, plus other spin-off jobs. As for how much money it will bring in, Mackenzie says that depends on the price of oil.
We're always subject to whatever the commodity price is. We're a price taker for oil. And this was a project that was probably something that wouldn't have been built under the current construct if it wasn't for the industry coming together with government and making sure that we all compromised and got ourselves to a place where we were comfortable moving forward.
When the project starts producing oil next year, it's expected to prolong White Rose's life another 14 years. Abby Cole, CBC News, Argentia.
So here's what we've gathered from talking to local residents.
I spoke with a renter who's facing eviction this fall.
It is not for the weak of stomachs.
What does it mean for you to be able to give that advice and to know that you've helped?
Don't look down.
If this is something that you didn't know about, let me tell you.
Heather Gillis, CBC News, Happy Valley Goose Bay.
St. John's.
Corner Brook.
Shaji, Inuk First Nation.
Grand Falls, Windsor.
New West Valley, Newfoundland and Labrador.
Well, April 15th marks 113 years since the sinking of the Titanic, the luxury liner that was believed to be unsinkable. And a new exhibit about the vessel is opening up in downtown St. John's. Well-known diver and Titanic enthusiast Larry Daly is the man behind the museum, and he invited us in for a preview.
So here at the Titanic and Iceberg exhibit downtown St. John's on Water Street, it's a collection of Titanic artifacts, memorabilia, and movie props that were gifted to me by James Cameron, a friend of mine. This is a piece that was used in the movie Titanic. It was actually gifted to me by James Cameron, and it was worn by Rose's mother in the movie. As we all know, it was a very snooty lady.
Come into the boat, Rose.
So the displays will show you, various props, reproductions, and artifacts related to Titanic, White Star Line, and the sister ship Olympic. And you'll see a lot of this in the displays, and you'll see footage, original footage of Titanic's launch and maiden voyage that the newsreels did back in the day to promote White Star Line over the competitor Cunard. The exhibit was a collaboration of the late Mr. Johnson and I when this was at the Johnson Geo Center with a team that we put together. I started collecting back in the late 90s, working with Mr. Johnson and the Johnson Family Foundation when we put more things together, and then I keep adding to it. So kind of an addict when it comes to that. If I see something cool and my paper route money allows me to get it, so that's what I do. I try to get some other things for people to enjoy. My heart is in this, my passion, and I just like to share the story. That was all the work that was put in this by like Mr. Johnson, the Johnson Geo Center staff, my staff, and the years of I put into this. It's beautiful to have it here in downtown St. John's, the closest point to Titanic. And for anybody from Newfoundland and Labrador, tours, cruise ship, everybody come see it. So it's a great place to have it, and I feel good that I can share the story.
Well, now let's head to the West Coast. It's a special day for Corner Brook, but also for friends and family of a beloved resident who's being honored with a big tribute. A new multi-million-dollar recreation facility will be named after her. Here and Now's Colleen Connors takes us inside.
The lobby of the new recreation center was packed with city staff, friends, and family.
Someone who was a builder, and not just of things, but of the community around recreation.
When the mayor announced the new name, the Marina Redmond Center. Redmond was a beloved, long-time city clerk. She passed away in July 2023. She loved sports, was always moving.
This is something that's so fitting for Marina. Marina was a very humble person, so this would be something that she would be, I don't know how she would react to this, to be honest, because it's over the moon for us. My two kids are ecstatic by this. I am incredibly happy. Marina's worked so hard for the city over the last 30 years, and this is a fitting tribute to her, through all her efforts.
The mayor and Redmond's family say Marina would be impressed. The $26 million facility is finally complete. The complex, attached to the back of Memorial's Grenfell campus, was meant to open in September, but issues with the pool delayed that. The original Grenfell pool basin is getting a second life here, but all the mechanics are new, with a second pool added, with a water slide, lazy river, and waiting area.
Well, we're so excited to see it. It's been such a long time coming, and we're thrilled to be able to offer this to the public very soon. We can already imagine people in swimming laps, jumping off the diving board, riding the slide. We're excited to see people in here as soon as we can.
There's also a full workout room above the pools for Grenfell students and the public to use. It has a gym, a multi-purpose room, a full daycare center that will be operated by the local YMCA. It opens for public use on Saturday, May 24th, and most of the recreation staff are already in place.
Things to administer the gym, front desk staff, all those kinds of things. We in fact have, if you look on our website right now, we still have a number of positions to fill.
15 more lifeguards need to be hired in order for this place to operate properly. And the cost to rent or use the facility, well, that hasn't totally been figured out just yet. But I know many people in the public will be very excited on May 24th. Colleen Connor, CBC News, Corner Brook.
Well, from one tribute to another, the province is honoring a former mayor who passed away last November. A section of Route 420, which passes through the community of Jackson's Arm, will now be known as Randy House Memorial Drive. Premier Andrew Furey made the announcement today at the Confederation Building in St. John's. Some of House's fellow Canadian Rangers were on hand for the ceremony, as well as several members of his family, including his daughter, Emma Daly.
I want to thank you so much on behalf of our family for being here today to celebrate and commemorate my father. Though I'm not sure what he would think about us all gathered here today, he would have had some witty response or clever way to take the attention off himself. He wasn't one for being the center of attention. What I do know is how much he loved Jackson's Arm, the community he grew up in, raised his family, and dedicated so much of his life to. We'll be so comforted to see that some of that love is reflected in naming the part of Route 420 as Randy House Memorial Drive.
Well, shifting to some sports news now, Paradise hockey player Ryan Green has become the 33rd Newfoundlander to play in the NHL.
A lot of emotions, obviously. Tough loss there on Saturday, but had to sleep that one off and then get up pretty early on Sunday morning and drive down here. So yeah, it's a lot of emotions for sure. It happened really quick, but I'm just excited to be here.
He's suiting up this week with the Chicago Blackhawks and even faced off against another Newfoundlander, Alex Newhook, with the Montreal Canadiens. Green is 21 years old. He signed a 3-year entry-level contract with the Blackhawks on Sunday. He's among 4 active players from this province playing in the NHL this season. Joining Newhook, Dawson Mercer of the New Jersey Devils and Clark Bishop of the Calgary Flames.
Well, over the next couple of days, we've got a little bit of weather on the way, especially through tomorrow. But as we head into the weekend, it's actually looking like we'll see a little bit of spring-like weather, which will be nice. But until we get there, expect some more rain as we head through tomorrow afternoon. A little bit of a wintry mix expected for the northern peninsula. And then up across Labrador, again, another round of snow will move in. So tomorrow, you'll start to see some showers in the first part of the day, especially towards the coast, but that snow will move in late day. I'll get into all those details coming up in a little bit.
We're gonna pounce. Today is our day to pounce.
Well, CBCNL reporter Ryan Cook, along with video producer Katie Breen, are bringing audiences on a journey from the vast seas of the Caribbean to remote regions like Shahajit Innu First Nation. They're following the trail of deadly cocaine and what Canadians are doing to crack down on the epidemic, both overseas and in their communities. You can watch their feature documentary, Pure Hell, anytime on our website, cbc.ca/NL. Time for a look at the weather. And Ashley, I got a bit of a shock when I looked out the window a bit earlier and saw the snow coming down. It was like a wet, light snow, but still.
Yeah, still, I know. Nothing was sticking, not here in the east anyway. Parts of the south coast, or southern areas of the Avalon, rather, certainly did see some of that stick and up across Labrador as well. Let's take a look at what's going on right now. We've got a ridge of, an area of low pressure that is now moving offshore, but it is bringing some onshore winds up across parts of Labrador. And then we've got that more northwesterly flow for parts of the west coast. This is bringing some marine air for coastal areas of Labrador. So the snow has been changing to some drizzle at times, and that will generally continue as we head through the rest of the night tonight. Other than that, there is the chance that we could see the northern lights tonight up across Labrador. Unfortunately, that area of low pressure does look like it'll keep you mostly cloudy for the night. But with this geomagnetic storm, there is a chance that we could see some of the northern lights a little bit further south, although they will be very low on the horizon. And the forecast tonight might be favorable as we continue through the overnight tonight to see that, but there's a very slight chance as we head through tonight. Our next weather maker, though, will be on its way as we head towards the early morning hours. This will start as some rain, potentially even some freezing rain for the southwestern corner of the island. And that's because temperatures are going to be fairly chilly tonight. That will quickly change over to rain, though, as the morning progresses. Up across Labrador, again, the coast, you're still looking at the chance of some showers tomorrow morning. North coast, that will be more in the way of snow, but you do have this next system moving in, and that is going to push that snow further north. So expect some on and off showers through the first part of the day, especially east. Eventually, as we get into the afternoon, most will actually start to see things clearing or at least tapering off. Northern Peninsula is still stuck in more of a wintry mix. And then as we head into the afternoon, the Avalon, this is when we'll see some showers that will likely be a little bit more steady through the afternoon, and eventually that will move off as well. And then we start to see that snow push north. Generally looking at some accumulation with this up across northern portions of Labrador. You could be talking about 10 to as much as 15 centimeters in the highest elevations. But again, some marine air in play there. So coastal areas will likely still see that mixed with some rain at times. Now, as we head into the late afternoon, early evening, there is likely a chance that we'll see some clearing for the west coast, and then late day showers will move back in as we head towards the overnight and maybe even a few showers. This area of low pressure also going to bring some windy conditions to the Wreck House area tomorrow morning. Expect those winds gusting around 100 kilometers per hour. And then really on the west coast, those southwesterlies will be gusting anywhere from maybe 60 to even 70 kilometers per hour. So it's going to be a breezy day tomorrow, although temperatures much warmer, anywhere from 6 to 10 degrees. Northern Peninsula, though, still in the single digits, only about +1 for St. Anthony. Same thing across Labrador. Again, 1 to 3 degrees for you. Winds will pick up late day, though, for those of you in the west, where they'll be gusting upwards of about 50 kilometers per hour. This area of low pressure is generally going to stick around through Thursday up across Labrador, but it should turn into a fairly nice day for the eastern half of the island. We'll likely still see some lingering flurries or showers for the west coast, northern peninsula, but other than that, that's about it. It'll just be a little bit more unsettled. Temperatures will be hovering between 4 and about 8 or even 9 degrees across the island, and then for Labrador between 0 and about +5 for your Thursday. The long-range forecast showing temperatures 9 to 11 degrees. Friday, Saturday looking pretty decent. We will see some rain move in, though, for St. John's and eastern Newfoundland as we get into Sunday, but a temperature around 11. Even warmer for central. We could likely reach around 13 degrees through the day. And then for western Newfoundland, you're looking at your temperature around 11 degrees on Saturday with some cloud cover. And then by the time we get into Saturday, some showers, but late day likely seeing some flurry activity with that. And then for eastern Labrador, you're looking at temperatures above 0, some snow by the time we get into Sunday, and much more snow expected for western Labrador with between 1 and 3 degrees. Speaking of Labrador, this is a great shot from the cabin at Rabbit Island. Chris shared this lovely shot with us. A perfect Labrador evening. If you have any weather photos, send them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Reporter Ryan Cook and video producer Katie Breen are tracking a deadly cocaine crisis, one that begins off the coast of Colombia but has created chaos for families in Shahajit Innu First Nation. This is their documentary, Pure Hell.
In the last 2 years, 27 people died from drug-related deaths. That's a huge number for a small population of 2,000.
We don't want to keep seeing our people die because of drugs and alcohol. You know, our people are hurting.
From the snowy streets of Canada's northern reserves to the tropical waters off the coast of Colombia.
201 6.4.
In the shadow of a fentanyl crisis, cocaine has exploded.
People are going to extremes in order to provide for their family.
And everywhere where you see it, you get more violence.
This is the story of an avalanche gaining momentum, the people being dragged under, and those fighting to slow it down.
No, I'm just tired. I'm tired of this.
Shahajit Innu First Nation is home to 2,000 people, half of them children. Located at the end of Lake Melville in central Labrador, there's one road in and one road out. There's a school here, a handful of police officers, and a steady flow of cocaine.
Cocaine has become a very big problem in our community. It's the drug of choice of young people, it seems. And there's a lot of young people that are involved with cocaine.
Peter and Marianne Panashaway raised 4 kids of their own. 3 struggled with cocaine addiction. Now they're raising their grandchildren too, one who has been with them since birth.
Which ones are your favorite?
I always like the one with the family. The little one always focuses on the family.
One's in jail. The other 2 are in recovery. They both have been to treatments, and there's only one child that's okay, and that's not a very good record. And we're not, we're not the exception of the families that are experiencing this in the community. It's the rule.
Peter Panashaway has always been a voice for his people, a protester, former Grand Chief, federal MP, and the first Innu cabinet minister.
I, Peter Panashaway.
But his latest campaign saw him ditch politics and peaceful protests in favor of a crowbar.
So, this house in grayish color is the house we bought for Ben, and now it's a drugstore.
Windows boarded up.
Yeah.
The Panashaways hope this house could be a fresh start for their son, would help him get back on his feet and be a father again. Instead, they say at the depths of his addiction, it was traded away for cash and cocaine.
And suddenly it was becoming like a drug house, and they got themselves barred right in. And I was getting so frustrated, and you can't burn the house down. We're like, what are you going to do, right?
Last winter, he'd had enough. Panashaway wanted the new owner out, threatened on social media that he'd start smashing windows if he didn't leave.
And I said, watch how quickly they arrest me. Watch how quickly the RCMP going to show up to arrest me.
Peter Panashwe, former federal cabinet minister, facing criminal charges for mischief. But he didn't care.
Up to that point, nothing was happening. There's obviously a crisis in the community, and I don't get a sense that people see it as a crisis. I don't sense that our CMP are seeing it as a crisis. Every time I've spoken to them, they're going for the big fish. Well, forget about trying to catch the big fish. Go after the people that are actually selling it in the community and who are pushing it.
So if you're looking for cocaine, that's where you go and buy it.
The man Peter is accusing says that's not true. He spoke to CBC after the incident and denied being a drug dealer. But 7 months later, the RCMP came knocking.
I would like to commend our police officers from Happy Valley Goose Bay and Sheshashi RCMP detachments for their exceptional work during Project Beehive.
17 of those little fish were arrested in a major sweep of central Labrador. The man who allegedly tangled with the Panashways charged with trafficking cocaine. Police seized cash, meth, heroin, even nitazene, a strong synthetic opioid. But there was something about that cocaine that took even the most seasoned investigators by surprise. Inspector David Emberley heads up the RCMP's organized crime unit in Newfoundland and Labrador.
Sometimes we see him in a vacuum seal bag. I've seen him done in black rubber, but most of the time, from my experience, they're done in tape like this.
A kilo of cocaine used to be a rare find for his team, but not anymore.
In 2009, when I started in drug section, if we seized a kilo of cocaine, that was a big seizure. Since then, the amount of cocaine that we're seizing has gone up dramatically. The other thing I've noticed is that we're finding guns on almost every search warrant that we do.
There was a dangerous discovery in that Labrador bust. Packaged baggies of ready-to-sell cocaine, Emberley says had the same deadly potential as a loaded gun.
Everything we seized was between 94 and 96% pure cocaine, which is unheard of. Only a couple of years ago, the cocaine that the user would buy on the street, say they bought a gram, typically would be 15%, but within the last couple of years, we're regularly now seizing cocaine at the street level, gram level, it's 94, 96%.
What does that mean? For starters, more people ending up here, in the morgue of Newfoundland and Labrador's chief coroner, Dr. Nash Dennick.
What individuals have to know that cocaine is still most dangerous drug. And the reason being that we don't have an antidote. We have individuals who are dying on the scene with a couple of vials of Narcan used with no recovery, meaning that they may have fentanyl on board, but they also may have a cocaine. And the cocaine is going to be the substance that's going to kill the individual.
This isn't just a problem in Sheshashi. Newfoundland and Labrador has seen a sharp increase in accidental drug deaths, a 221% spike in 10 years. Now look at cocaine, an increase of over 1,000% in the same time frame. While the rest of the country has been focused on fentanyl, cocaine remains the biggest killer in Newfoundland and Labrador. Dr. Dennick performs autopsies on each of these people, and then he picks up the phone.
Those conversations are difficult because on the other side of that line, you have a desperate next of kin, being mom, dad, sister, or a child, and they usually ask themselves why and could we have done differently.
For years, experts have warned about substances mixed with cocaine, but Emberly says it's the purity that now poses the biggest risk. So why is uncut cocaine suddenly showing up in even the most remote corners of the province? The answer will bring us a long way from Labrador.
As the cartel moves through the Caribbean, the Royal Canadian Navy is in the hunt. We'll go inside Canada's mission to disrupt the cocaine trade coming up.
As parts of Canada deal with the fentanyl crisis, Newfoundland and Labrador is facing an influx of strong and deadly cocaine. We called on the United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime to learn more.
Are we actually seeing more cocaine?
Yes, it's very clear. Cocaine production has been exploding in the last couple of years, particularly in Colombia. Colombia is right now flooding the markets. It's flooding the markets of Europe. It's flooding the markets in Africa. It's flooding the markets in Asia. And it also goes to North America and here including Canada.
Cocaine comes from the coca plant. It's mainly grown in 3 countries, Colombia, Bolivia, and Peru, with the vast majority coming from Colombia. The days of Pablo Escobar may be over, but cocaine and its reign of terror continue. There was hope in 2016 when the Colombian government signed a peace agreement with the Revolutionary Army controlling much of the cocaine trade. But that failed when the government went back on its promises to compensate coca farmers to switch to other crops. The cartels flooded in, violence resumed, and cocaine production skyrocketed. With the markets flooded, Peachman says dealers no longer need to dilute their products to maximize their profits. Where a kilo used to be split 5 or 6 ways, it's now being sold as is.
For many years, it has been almost, I would not say undetected, but it was not spoken about. People spoke about fentanyl, I think for very good reasons, and fentanyl is a serious, serious problem. But by looking at fentanyl, people were somehow overlooking the kind of traditional drug of cocaine, which continues and does play a very serious problem in many countries, including Canada, including your province.
Opioids like fentanyl still outrank stimulants like cocaine as the deadliest drugs in Canada. But stimulant deaths, the majority from cocaine, are rising at a faster rate, 146% from 2019 to 2023. Cocaine bound for Canada usually lands in Jamaica, the Dominican Republic, or the United States. From there, it can travel by air, ship, or land, arriving in central locations like Montreal, where it moves east and west to far-reaching corners of the country. Canada's goal is to stop smugglers before they reach our shores. In the middle of a vast Caribbean dreamscape, HMCS Margaret Brooke is the only ship for miles around. At least, the only one that's visible. This is Operation Carib, Canada's effort to cut down on the surge of cocaine moving through the Caribbean.
If we're going to catch anything, if we're going to pounce, today is our day to pounce. Okay?
On a mission last winter, then Commanding Officer Nicole Robichaud led a team of about 90 sailors, patrolling south of the Dominican Republic, acting on tips from American and Canadian planes, or intel from the 20 countries and countless agencies working together in the region. Sometimes, it's as simple as spotting something on a set of binoculars. That was the case on one clear day when a sailor catches sight of a boat about 10 miles out.
HMCS Margaret Brooke is a floating platform for American law enforcement agents. That means when the ship spots a suspicious vessel, it's the Americans who get off and pursue it. Now, given the dangerous nature of the work and the vindictive nature of the cartels, we've agreed not to use their names or show their faces.
So we put that boat in the water, and as that boat went and closed the Go Fast, Margaret Brooke came behind, and we were going and keeping lookout just in case we saw anything that was discarded from the Go Fast, and they had actually gone and jettisoned all of their contraband.
The team recovers 12 packages from the water, weighing in at about 510 kilograms, a whopping $17 million worth of cocaine. The drugs and prisoners were transferred to a U.S. Coast Guard ship and sent to Florida. Their boat sunk by gunfire in the middle of the night. The mission doesn't end there. As a new day begins, so does the next search.
Good morning, Margaret Brooke. Today's weather forecast.
It's like hunting for a needle in a haystack, and there's more needles out here than ever before. A Customs and Border Patrol plane spots a small boat heading towards the Dominican Republic. It's not pinging on the radar or reporting its location. The Margaret Brooke begins to mobilize.
Revolution's 130.
Okay, team, listen up. This one's a little bit of a different situation than our last hit. We are creeping up from ahead of the target vice astern. The target will be able to see us and probably evade us. 02, ice radar?
So red 9.
A rigid inflatable boat, otherwise known as a rib, is lowered into the water. The U.S. Coast Guard team is on board. The team in the rib radios back to the ship with questions for the Maritime Patrol Aircraft, or MPA, overhead.
We want to know if you can ask the MPA if they have any indicia of nationality and if they see any weapons on board. Over.
Papa 1-6, this is father. Negative, MPA is departed, over.
The aircraft has already left the area, leaving the team flying in blind. And the bad news continues. The rib has lost an engine. It's floundering in the water. Then, a spark of hope. A sailor spots the target vessel passing in the distance.
Oh shit, yeah, there it is. I see it, yep.
Barely visible to our cameras, a boat is struggling through heavy waves. 2 men on board, hammered by 3-meter swells.
15 to port wheel on, sir. Very good.
The Margaret Brook, a 100-meter ship with a top speed of just 32 kilometers per hour, is now in the race.
Midships.
As the Canadians close in on the flailing target, the smugglers make a calculated decision.
What's that? Package in the water, starboard side.
They're ditching their cargo, forcing the captain to make a split-second decision: keep up the chase or slow down to recover what could be millions of dollars worth of cocaine.
Okay, let's come down in speed. Stop our turn.
The captain chooses recovery. It doesn't pay off. The smugglers have thrown out decoys, not bricks of cocaine, but empty gas cans. Not the result the team had hoped for.
Further out.
That one hurt a little bit, and I think the entire crew felt it because it was so close. It was so close. But unfortunately, that vessel did get away. Yeah, it hurt.
In this part of the ocean, risky and desperate decisions are made. These traffickers aren't typically hardened criminals, the crew tells us. Some low-level gang members, others vulnerable people with few choices.
It's not easy going and crossing over 200 miles in an open-faced boat with 2 outboard engines. Most of it in the dead of night, so you don't get captured. Underneath a tarp in the sweltering heat, so once again, you don't get captured, you don't get seen. It's extreme for what people are doing in order to go and make a living or to provide for their families.
It's a desperation that's being felt at both sides of the supply chain. Still to come, we go inside a treatment center in Labrador, where recovering addicts are leading the resistance and facing plenty of pushback. There's an old camp on the highway near Shejit. It's seen better days, but like the people inside, it's holding hope for a brighter future. This is Appenum's camp, day one of an 8-week residential treatment program. The counselors, all in recovery themselves, saw record demand this winter. 30 people signed up to live together and hopefully leave sober. There's companionship, 3 square meals, and music. Passionish Panashaway, now a counselor here, sought treatment from this program 4 years ago. Since then, the town's drug problem has only gotten worse.
I saw you across the pond, and all I could see is color blue. I was really messed up, but you know, through my recovery, you know, I put a lot of work into it.
The group gathered this morning and made a list of people they'd lost to drugs. They came up with 27 names, all under the age of 40, who had died in the last 2 years. A staggering number for a town of 2,000 people.
Take my hand, we'll make it out alive. We don't want to keep seeing our people die because of drugs and alcohol, you know. And it's, you know, our people are hurting. And they use that to escape their pain, you know. They think that's the only way out. You know, that's all they know. And, you know, this is like, shows them, you know, there is a way out. You're not alone.
Off camera, several people at the camp told us about the problems they've had with drug dealers, infiltrating NA meetings, pulling people back into addiction to line their own pockets, and threatening those who go against them. Peter and Marianne Panashaway know this all too well after a frightening encounter involving their daughter and a dispute over money.
There was one time that she was picked up by this person, and she was threatened that she was going to get beat up and driven outside the community. When she called me, she was like just screaming, like hysterically, like crying. And she called from someone's house that she ran into because she got out of the car. As a mother, I panicked. And I called out to Peter. I said, go pick up our daughter, like right now. You don't expect that to happen in a small community, to get threatened by this man who's selling drugs.
It's that human toll that weighs on Inspector David Emberley. Every purchase, he says, props up a deadly industry.
You know, when people are buying, you know, a half gram or a gram, they are supporting a whole network of organized crime groups between South America and here. You're dealing with violence and, you know, intimidation and weapons, and we see that right here in our own province.
It is frustrating, but it's more frustrating looking at these bodies of young individuals who are in their primes and thinking about the full life being in front of them, and they're here on my autopsy table.
On a bitter cold morning in January, Peter Panashaway had his day in court. The mischief charges were dropped in exchange for a peace bond. The man Panashaway calls a drug dealer is still living in his son's former house.
Any interest in meeting Maisie? Sitters.
You want to take your medicine now?
For Peter and Marianne Panashaway, this is what's at stake.
Good. Good job.
Bye, Papa. Good job. My Papa kissed me! Papa, my Papa kissed me!
and they'll do everything they can to protect it.
Take my hand, we'll make it out alive. You and I'll stay with me, you're all I need.
And I hope people who wants to see the community change that are living here as well, I want them like to have courage and not to be afraid, because it's for our kids and grandkids.
You're all